Alright, so our lesson today will be about standard costing, and variance variance analysis. Okay, so what happens in many businesses and in many companies is that through experience, a company develops what are called standard costs. So if you want to make a product, then you have not incurred the cost, but you will come up with some standard cost, which means some cost that you estimate, that you expect based on experience. Now, that standard cost, you will, at the end of a period, compare it with actual cost. Yeah, because sometimes when you are costing for a product, the actual cost in some situations varies with the projected or the standard cost that you had put based on experience. Now, this analysis is what is called variance analysis. So basically, we check why and how actual cost has ultimately varied from standard cost, and the reasons why there was this variance, because this variance can inform our strategy and our decision making processes. What should we change to achieve the cost that we want? What can we adjust to achieve the cost that we want? So basically, there are three broad categories of evaluating and of doing variance analysis. So what will guide us at the unit cost? You know, in cost accounting, the unit costs for which we perform standard costing and variance analysis are: number one, direct material cost; number two, direct labor cost; and three is overhead cost. So these are the overhead cost. So these are the three types, the three kinds of cost that goes into a product, into cost of a product. Cost of a product is composed of direct material, direct labor, and overhead cost. All right. So how do we perform standard costing and variance analysis? So we do that for each of these categories. Now, there are two types of variances that we evaluate. Now, variances that we evaluate are basically direct material variances, direct labor, and then overhead variances. Now, for each element, there are two variances. So there is a price variance. So let me call this, these are the variances. There is price variance, and there is efficiency variance. So suppose that we are looking at direct materials. We want to make bread. We had estimated based on experience that we would, spend like 10 kilograms for a unit of bread at a price of 10 shillings. So that we will compare with what we actually spent. If we now spent, instead of 10 kilograms, we spent 12 kilograms, we will do a variance analysis. If instead of spending 10 shillings per unit, we spent 13 shillings per unit. That one we're going to evaluate here. So let me give you an example now, so that we can get going. Suppose, like the example I'm giving of bread, suppose to make a unit of bread, we need 10 kgs. This is hypothetical. 10 kgs is so much, but this is just for us to understand the concept. So we need 10 kgs of flour, of wheat. Let me say of wheat flour. At a kg of wheat flour, let me say, is about 50 shillings. Okay. And then our actual cost of making this bread, turns out that we spent 12 kgs of wheat, 12 kgs, and then we used 8 shillings. Or let me say we used 40 shillings per unit, per kg. So what will happen there is that we will now do variance analysis, because at the end of the day we want to know why was there a change, why was there a variance. So this is what we will do. For all price variances, we do change in price times actual quantity. For all price variances, change in price times actual quantity. For all efficiency variances, is change in quantity times standard price. Okay. So if you get this right, then you finish this lesson. So because this is a price variance, we want to check the change in price. So the focus is on price. Yes. And then the change in price we will multiply by actual quantity, because this is the actual amount that we bought. So this is what will influence our cost. Now for efficiency variances, the focus is change in quantity, because efficiency is about comparing input and output. So efficiency sometimes is called, there is direct material quantity variance. All those are words that you find in textbooks, but the main focus is efficiency. So you may get quantity variance. Quantity and efficiency are used sometimes interchangeably, but the main focus is that we check how quantity has changed, the quantity that we projected, standard cost versus the actual quantity that we have used, and then we multiply by standard price. Now let's now plug in this. Now price variance, direct material price variance for this one will be, so let us do it like this. Price variance will be, direct material price variance will be change in price per unit. So this one we had the standard was 50, actual is 40. So there's a change in, the change in price is 10 shillings. And then we multiply by actual quantity. The actual quantity that we bought were 12 kgs, so times 12. So this will be 120. Now this 120, there's a next step that we will evaluate. Is it favorable? Is it unfavorable? Now the favorability of a variance, we check what was the focus. If the focus was price, then we come here. We have bought it at 40, we thought we would buy it at 50. So this is basically favorable. The variance is favorable because what we thought we would use was 50, but we used a lesser amount. So this is favorable. So we write there F, meaning favorable. So this is 120, favorable. Okay, then when we go to efficiency variance, the focus is now quantity. How much did you expect to use? How much did we use? Okay, so for a unit of bread, we expected to use 10 kg, we have used 12 kg. So this is a change of 2 units. So this is a change of 2 units. Okay, times standard price. Standard price is 50 now. This is yeah, standard price is 50, which we will do here, and then it will come to 100. Then we need to know whether it is favorable or unfavorable. So when you come here, the quantity that we thought we would use was 10. The quantity that we have used is 12. So we have used more than we wanted. So this is clearly unfavorable. So we write here UF, meaning unfavorable, right? Yeah, so this is an example of direct material variances, which is price and efficiency variance. So when we go to direct labor, so assume that to make 1 unit of bread, so let's assume that to make 1 unit of bread, to make 1 unit of bread, to make 1 unit of bread, the standard cost, standard or estimated or projected cost, standard cost is something like, let me say, 60 minutes of labor, 60 minutes of labor at, let me say, 300 per hour. Okay, and then the actual labor cost that you used was, let me say, 50 minutes at, let me say 350 per hour. 350 per hour. Okay, so when you come here, you will plug in the details. Price variance, direct labor price variance will be change in price. So we had thought we would use 300, but we used 350. So that's a difference of 50 times actual quantity. Actual quantity that we used is 50 minutes. Okay, is 50 minutes. So it will be, because we are dealing with hours, we should now do something like 50 out of 60. Okay, yes, or yeah, because it is the change in price, the change in price times actual quantity. Change in price is change in price per unit, price of labor. This is price of labor. 50 times actual quantity of labor hours used. Then when we go to the efficiency variance, now we compare our projected quantity. So labor, this is also called direct labor quantity variance, or labor efficiency variance is the same. So this one will be change in hours times standard price of labor. So change in hours here will be, we had thought we used 1 hour, but we have used 50 minutes. So let me say 50 minutes is 5/6. Let me say 5/6. So delta should come to about, so let me just use 1 minus 5/6 times standard price, and standard price of labor is this 300 per hour. This is standard price, which is 300. So let me assume that 5/6 is about 0.9. I'm not very 0.8 there. Let me say 0.8. So 1 minus 0.8 is 0.2. 0.2 times 300 is, let me see, 0.2 times 300 is 2 times 30, which is 60. So this should be 60. Okay. Maybe my math may not be right, but I'm just giving you the concept. Now, is this favorable or unfavorable? Now, this is efficiency variance. So we want to compare the quantity that we thought we would use, the quantity of labor hours. We thought we'd use 60, but we've used 50. So this is favorable because we've used a lesser amount. So this is favorable. Okay. So this one this one should be 50 times, let me say 0.8, which is like, let me say 40. So this should be 40. This should be 40, and then is it favorable or unfavorable? The price, we thought we will use 300, we will use 350. So this is unfavorable. Unfavorable. So this is a direct labor price variance is 40 unfavorable. Direct labor efficiency variance is 60 favorable. So then we go to overhead variance, and then we're done. So overhead variance, this is what happens. Overhead is absorbed based on a base. Sometimes it is based on labor hours, sometimes it's on direct materials. So it depends with the policy of the company. So, but it will follow the same trend. So it will be overhead, change in overhead rate. This will be change in overhead rate. Change in overhead rate, yeah, times actual overhead price, times actual overhead price. Yeah, just like the rest, change in actual overhead quantity. Yeah, all these price variances is changing price times actual quantity. All these efficiency variances are changing quantity times standard price. Okay, so let me assume that in this bakery, your overhead is absorbed based on labor hours. Yeah, your overhead is absorbed based on labor hours. Now assume that the projected standard labor hours, like we said, was how much? 60 minutes, and you've used actual labor hours of 50 minutes. So this is we said this was 350 per hour. I mean, this was 300 per hour, and 300 per hour, and this one was, we have used 350 per hour. Okay, so if overhead is absorbed based on labor hours, then this information is going to be very important for us. Now when you come here, first we need to find the overhead absorption rate. Okay, so that it will be given to us that maybe labor is absorbed at an overhead absorption rate of, let me say, 60 shillings per hour. 60 shillings per hour. This overhead absorption rate. So this is standard. Okay, and then the actual overhead absorption rate turns out to be, let me say, 100 per hour. So this is the actual overhead absorption rate. Okay, so now we are going to plug in the details, and then we will find our overhead variance, our overhead variances. So let me start with the price variance. So for the price variance is change in overhead rate, which is change in overhead price. Rate is the same as price. So the standard is 60 per hour. The actual is 100 per hour. So that one will be 40 times actual labor hours, because the overheads are absorbed based on labor hours. So the actual labor hours was 50. So this is 50 over 60 is about 0.8. Yes, so this will be 36. And then this 36, we check, is it favorable or unfavorable? We look at, actually is 100 per hour, standard is 60 per hour. So this is basically unfavorable. It has been very costly more costly than we had envisaged. Now we go to the overhead efficiency variance. Overhead efficiency variance. So now this is what we're going to do. Since overhead is absorbed based on labor hours, so overhead absorbed based on labor hours, then have we been efficient in using our labor hours? So this is going to still guide us, because this was 1 hour minus 5 over 6 or 50 over 60. Yeah, because this is the change in labor hours, because our overhead is based on is absorbed based on labor hours. Then we are going to multiply times standard rate. So this one is going to be 1 minus 0.8. I'm assuming this is about 0.8. Not accurate, but a guesstimate. So this 1 minus 0.8 is 0.2 times standard overhead absorption rate. So this was the standard, which is 60 per hour. 60 per hour. No. It's times standard, times standard rate, which is 60 per hour. Change in the quantity times standard rate, which is 60 per hour. Yeah. So if you look at this, this will be 12. So this will be 12. And then this is clearly favorable, because it is efficiency, and efficiency is about quantity, and the actual labor hours is less than what we had envisaged. So this is favorable. Okay. So this is basically what this topic is all about. But this is not an end in itself, like I was saying. After you come up with these variances, you want to know, why did we get 120 units, 120? Why was our direct material price variance favorable by a whopping 120 units? So why would a material price variance be favorable? Which means maybe you bought your materials, you changed your supplier, that's why you got a good deal for the materials. Yeah, maybe you got discounts, maybe you got a poor quality, because if materials are poor quality, you expect them to be cheap. So that is some of the things that you interrogate now. Now this is managerial accounting. Now you want to interrogate, why did you get a favorable variance? The same with, why did you get efficiency variance, which is unfavorable to helping 100 units? So efficiency variance, maybe there was a machine breakdown, so you will investigate. The production manager will tell you, was there some breakages, and then maybe the quality of the material was poor, that's why you used a lot. Maybe the skill, the kind of stuff you are using were not technically proficient, so that's why they used a lot of materials and all those kind of things. So these are the things that you're going to interrogate. Direct labor, you are going to interrogate, why did we spend more than we had envisaged? And then you're going to get answers. You're going to reason on the same wavelength. So basically, this is part of managerial accounting, it's part of cost accounting, and all of them go forward in informing decision making in an organization. I hope this video will help you to understand the concept clearly. Otherwise, have a good day, and thanks for watching.